I'd rather go right now onto the Republican Party state convention rules. They are short. Pages 23 to 28. See, that's the back section of what you have on the website, Sean.
Okay.
Pages 23 to 28 are the rules specifically for the governance of the Michigan Republican State Convention, which is what you have discussed. The first part of the rule describes the conduct of the meeting. The state party chair has significant responsibility. The state party chair appoints the chair, the secretary, any officers the state party chair sees fit to govern the convention. The state party chair establishes a theme for the convention and makes efforts to obtain a recognized speaker, determines the order of business, and may add other items of business of the state convention not referenced, provided, however, that candidate nominations shall occur in the order established by the Rules Committee, and this order may only be amended by a majority vote of the delegates of the full state convention present and voting. So I just point out that it gives the party chair quite a bit of authority and opportunity, but it also is very specific that the candidate nominations must occur in a particular run. In answer to questions asked before, it says in Rule number 3 that Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, be adopted for the procedures of this convention for all matters not covered by these rules. So it is specific. Convention rules, and as I mentioned, these are for the January 25 to 26, 2008 convention. Convention rules are always one of the first orders of business of any convention. The other two orders of business are the credentials report, which establishes who is entitled to vote, and there are details in here about the credentials committee, who's on it, and how they do their work, and the adoption of the program. In the state party, it's referred to as the issues. But those three items always come at the start of practically any convention.
Is it the platform?
Yes. Any convention that you could imagine has those parts, which is basically who's entitled to vote, the rules under which we're going to operate, and the program. And I'm going to call it program, Candy, in the wider sense, because depending upon your group, that may be different issues. It establishes the convention committees, a rules committee, committee on credentials, and a committee on issues, which is what we've just said. And the convention rules committee consists of one male and one female from each congressional district. I think that's very interesting. Appointed by the congressional district chair, and it says when those appointments must be made. Then, as I say, it goes on in detail to describe the Committee on Credentials, which, of course, is a very, very important committee because it says who has the right to vote. Then it talks about how challenges are done if you have a challenge to who has the credentials. And also very common, they restrict what can be presented that doesn't have notice. Doesn't have previous notice. No issue or amendment to an issue shall be presented from the floor of the convention unless the rules are suspended by a 2/3 vote. Again, the same thing we've seen here. That 2/3 just goes with any time it would take away people's rights. And of course, if I'm going to bring forward an issue at convention that none of you have heard about, there should be some penalty to the fact that it's not been noticed. So you had a chance to research it, so you had a chance to discuss it and be prepared. So it requires that 2/3 vote. And but they tell you how to do it, and they tell you that you can do brief pros and cons and provide 15 copies, and that new issue will be assigned a number and considered at the end of the report of the Issues Committee. But no more than 5 issues may be presented to the convention. And again, I just want to stress that this is rather typical. In other organizations, they're called not issues, but resolutions from the floor, They have different names, but the point is that you're limiting the number of business that can be brought before that didn't have notice.
So you're saying, how do you give notice to?
Well, that they tell you how to do it so that you get it in enough days in advance so that it can be sent out to everyone. So there is a process for presenting issues that you do in advance. But this particular rule is just addressing the ones that you do at the last minute.
Is that what it says here? Issues committee 7 days ahead of time with a written draft?
Yes?
Is that how you get it on the agenda?
That's how you get it on the agenda.
And is that for the convention only? These are the convention rules.
These are the convention rules. Which one are you reading, Joe?
Number 10.
Yes, thank you. Well, let me finish on number 9, just as we've been talking about. And once an issue's been presented to the convention, and this means the ones that presented in advance or the ones currently, discussion shall be limited to no more than 2 minutes per speaker and not more than 3 speakers on each side. So, as we've mentioned, you want to know how many microphones there are. Get your speakers at each of the microphones. Be prepared with your issues to look at how it's being done. That is what everybody does. You know, that is the strategy of getting something forward, is to be prepared. And they're limiting how much. You'll notice that in number 10, we talked about before you have to get recognition in order to speak, and there would be different methods. They say that delegates wishing to be heard on either side of an issue shall register their names and districts with the Issues Committee at the podium of the convention from 9 a.m. until the report of the Issues Committee. Speakers shall be chosen on a first-come, first-served basis, alternating pro and con as available until the allotted time of discussion is exhausted. So they are being very specific. So they're putting the rules out there for everyone. The issue is that you want to know what the rules are in advance of the time so you can do it. Also, generally speaking, the rules stay pretty much the same, and the advantage of acquainting yourselves with the rules from the last time is also to see if anything has changed so you can be alert to that and think about why that's been changed. And number 11 says maximum period of 1 hour on the issues beginning with the report of the Issues Committee. Now that might seem like just an odd phrase to you, but as a parliamentarian who oversees the timekeepers, or sometimes is the timekeeper, they've told me that beginning with the report, sometimes it says commencing with the conclusion of the report. In other words, they don't count the time it takes Candy, the chair of the Issues Committee, to give the report. They just count the debate time. They're telling you the committee chair's report is included. So sometimes when you read it, just a few words. So instead of beginning with the report, commencing with the end of the report. So, and when it does say the parliamentarians act as official timekeepers. Number 12 describes how you will vote on the issues and what kind of a vote it's going to take, and how to do a roll call vote, and that you can voice vote or show of hands. So again, here they have really defined.
I have a question about number 11.
Yes.
It says the debate on the issues shall be for a maximum period of 1 hour, 60 minutes, beginning with the report of the Issues Committee. At the expiration of this time limit, the convention shall move on to the next order of business. Does that mean specifically as soon as that clock hits 60 minutes, there's no more votes, no more amendments, there's no more anything? So you have to get all your votes and everything in by the end of that 60 minutes.
Right, right.
If you're in the midst of voting and that 60 minutes goes by, it stops there and moves on.
Yes, and well, we would complete the vote.